A very good evening to Mr. Ruben Arumugam, CEO of my Inspire.my. I am Jilita Manoharan from Sabah Chinese High School, your moderator for today's event. Welcome to Buncee Week first in Malaysia. Finally, we are in the fifth day of Buncee Week. It's a glad welcome we bring to you in this event. We would like you all to join us for a week-long Buncee event in Malaysia where educators across the globe will be sharing their experiences and strategies for enhancing student management along with innovative teaching practices that you can bring back to your class. These sessions will help you learn how to use Buncee for remote, blended, or flipped instructions and beyond. My dear wonderful educators, we have a good news for you. We will love to hear feedback from all of you. Tell us how you have used the ideas of participating in Buncee Week and experiences using the wonderful Buncee application by sharing your thoughts about it by creating a simple video within a minute length. Please send the video to Mr. Ruben Arumugam at +60102457319 or by email ruben.arumugam@gmail.com before this Friday. The video produced by the winner will be announced and telecast on Friday itself. So happy filming everyone. Without further ado, let me introduce our head of the program, Miss Ada. She is the strategy manager at Buncee. She is passionate about improving access to quality education and engaging students in the STEM field, especially for underserved communities worldwide. Prior to Buncee, she has worked in the public sector conducting scientific research and analysis, including the National Science Foundation as well as the Earth Institute at Columbia University in New York. So here I would like to welcome Miss Ada. Hi, Miss Ada.
Hello.
Hi.
Selamat petang, Malaysia. And for those of you tuning in actually from the Philippines, kamusta po sa inyong lahat? So my name is Ida Jimenez. Welcome to day 5 of Buncee Week here in Malaysia. I'm really excited to, start off this day with you all. But if you're tuning in for the first time, Buncee Week here in Malaysia is a true international celebration where different educators in the Buncee community are actually coming together to share different learning strategies, creative practices, and just different ideas that hopefully can inspire and help you make learning fun and engaging for your students, no matter where you are across the globe. And so, as I mentioned, this is a true international celebration. So if in the chat, please share, where you're tuning in from. So I'm out here in New York. I know that there are some that were in the chat that are tuning in from Palestine, the Philippines. I saw Macedonia. So it's very exciting to welcome you here. And so as you're tuning into this week, today's session will really focus on how you can nurture a sense of belonging for your classroom, especially as we start thinking about, the future of education in a more remote and blended learning environment. And so as you tune into this week, if you've been following all throughout, what we started with is a real session of giving an overview about what Buncee is and how you could bring that into your remote, blended, or flipped learning practice. And then as the days went along, we went through STEM, we went through literacy, and also just making learning accessible. And so for today's session, like I mentioned, we'll be focusing this time on nurturing that sense of belonging for our students so that they can feel connected and engaged and involved with the learning. But before we fully get started with our entire session, I just want to cover a few different sort of overview of what to expect. And so again, this conference really is in partnership with Inspire.my. So I just want to share my absolute thanks to Ruben and team at Inspire for really hosting us, and at the same time being able for us to be able to connect and learn and grow with one another, where all of us can share just different strategies so that we can improve the learning experience for our students. And so with this conference, we obviously have a few special surprises really in store for you. So just to reiterate, since this is day 5, I just want to share that you will get a special extended access code for participating in this event. And so if you're a new user to Buncee, you'll get an access code where you'll be able to extend your trial and at the same time be able to bring that creative learning experience, not just for yourself, but also to your students. And so please, at the end of this conference or session rather, be sure to register on our attendance form so that you can also get the information of how you can actually enable this extended access code. And in terms of our giveaways, so if you've been tuning along for the whole week, you've seen that we've been doing a few different giveaways. And this is obviously what we've been doing each day. But as you tune in, feel free again to take a session selfie with us and share with us, one idea that you've learned. So again, we're all here to really be able to learn, connect, and grow with one another. So as you pay attention to this session and learn from Eileen, who is our guest speaker for today, share an idea that you want to, sort of take back to your classroom. And then on Twitter, be able to tag us at Buncee as well as include the hashtag for Buncee Malaysia, and then be able to tag 3 friends so that everyone can also learn about the different ideas that you're taking back to your classroom. So again, we'll be picking 2 different lucky winners for it. And just to reiterate, the prize for this is to be able to give you all extended access for Buncee for Schools. And again, this conference is really meant to help us all learn and grow. And with this access, what you'll be able to expect is that you as an educator, along with 4 other individuals at your school, will be able to get the full access to Buncee for Schools, as well as the different students that you serve. And so I hope that you partake in our little giveaway fun here. And we'll be picking that lucky winner so that you can bring that creative opportunity to your kids too. But again, so like I mentioned, we've made it now to day 5 of this conference. And so I really want us to sort of get to know one another. And as we sort of chime in here, I really want everyone to start to learn, who's in the audience. And so yesterday when I brought this up, please share your Twitter handle or any of your social media accounts so that we all can get connected and grow with one another and follow each other's learning journey. And so I just shared, our speaker's Twitter handle on our screen here, as well as Buncee's and my own. But I'd love to be able to learn and grow with you guys. And so as part of this, a lot of our educators started sharing, their About Me Buncees. So I'm just gonna reiterate that this giveaway for today is we're encouraging you all to create an About Me Buncee. And so I know that some people have partaked in it already. So I'm just gonna quickly share, a few awesome examples that I started to come across just from Twitter itself. So as you look at my screen, what you'll notice is that Azreen actually had started to share his About Me, and I loved seeing how creative that he got. He started putting all the different animations. I noticed that you got your Buncee badge going. So he's getting his creativity on, and I'm really excited to be able to see that. At the same time, we've also had another educator start to share their own About Me Buncees. So I'm really excited to be able to see that everyone's having fun, getting creative, and bringing back, sort of the learning practices that they're learning from this session itself. But last but not least, I know Rochelle was actually our guest speaker for day 1, but she also shared her About Me Buncee. So I thought I'd share it. I thought it was great as well. Super creative. You'll notice all the different Buncee stickers, but what I loved about it is that she also recorded her own video in it too. So again, feel free to get creative. As creative as you'd like, add your own stickers. If you're camera shy, you don't have to add your own video like Rochelle did, but feel free to share a little bit about you so that as people follow along with the conference, they'll be able to, connect and grow with you too. But before that, I also wanted to share a new collaboration that I came across on Twitter just yesterday, and it's actually shared by one of our Buncee ambassadors, Maria Giovedoni, who's actually based in Argentina. And so I thought this actually was in tune with this whole All About Me sort of giveaway that we had. And so I wanted to add to it. Maria had yesterday done a training session with literally educators across the globe. She's been amazing as an amazing force really to help inspire different educators. And what she did with this Bunce board, as you look in my screen, is encourage other educators to also share a little bit about the countries that they came from. And so this one actually is from another Bunce ambassador, Ragda, who's out from Palestine. But I love that, Maria started getting people to not just think about who they are, about me, but also about the countries that you come from. And again, this is an international celebration. So let's, share our Buncees about our countries or even just ourselves. And so I just wanted to quickly share a few examples from the board. But I love, how everybody's sharing from Canada, Vietnam, Palestine, really all over the world. So I thought these were great creative examples. Here's someone also from the US. So in terms of our giveaway, just to circle back here, what we're doing is expanding yesterday's About Me, giveaway to also be sharing about your country. And as you contribute to this, what I'm hoping for is that, one, you'll be able to share your About Me on Twitter. Tag Buncee, hashtag Buncee Malaysia, and also tag 3 friends so that people can get to know you a little more. But at the same time, if you actually want to instead of doing the all about me Buncee, and you actually want to make a Buncee about your country and share a little bit more about your culture and the community that surrounds you, what I'm encouraging you to do is actually share to Maria's board. And so in order for you to share to Maria's board, what you'll notice on my screen is that I've added a QR code. So, grab your phone, scan the QR code, and then you'll be able to add your Buncee out to Maria's board. So please, as you get engaged with this giveaway, either create a Buncee about yourself or about your country. We're definitely looking forward to, learning more about everyone, no matter where they come from. And so as part of that, on Friday we'll be on Saturday, the 25th, we'll be picking our 5 little lucky giveaway winners. And then lastly, I just wanted to reiterate, one of our last giveaways that we've been doing in partnership with Inspire MY that Ms. Delega had the chance to share earlier, but we'd love to hear your feedback. We've come to day 5 of this week-long conference, and you've learned quite a bit, especially if you've been with us throughout the entire journey. And we'd love to learn about what you're looking to do and, your thoughts on Buncee, but at the same time, what practices and ideas are you taking back to your kids? And so with that, I'm encouraging you again to, record your feedback in a video and then share it with us. And so in order for you to partake in this, you'll get a lucky prize, which is actually a Buncee t-shirt for it. But as part of this giveaway, tell us your thoughts on Buncee and how you're planning to now use it in your class now that you've participated in each of the sessions. And then tag Buncee, hashtag Buncee Malaysia, as well as hashtag Buncee feedback, so that we'll be able to follow along through all of the different video submissions. I know we've received quite a few already, so I'm really excited to see what other folks are sharing. And then last but not least, aside from sharing it on Twitter, please be sure, just so that we make sure that your submission was accounted for, to email it to ruban.arumugam@gmail.com. So that's listed on the bottom here. So feel free to take a screenshot of this screen right over here. But we're definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts, your ideas, what you've learned, and seeing how you're planning to now innovate and make learning fun for your kids back at home. All right, and so before we start to dive into the actual session itself, I just want to reiterate that you will be receiving a personalized certificate for participating in this session. So again, the attendance will be taken at the end. Be careful as you write your name as well as your email, just so that we can make sure that when we create the certificates, it gets forwarded to you and it's in your inbox. So again, that will be personalized. It'll include your name, the session you participated in, as well as the date of the session itself. But before we sort of come to a close, I know that we're all here really to be able to learn and grow with one another, and really our ambassadors who of course I'm super grateful for, are really sharing their learning ideas and strategies. I just wanted to sort of raise a concern that was actually sent over to me. I kept her name private just, for the sake of privacy, but someone from the community also mentioned that they really want to be able to learn all of the different ideas, but they're struggling to follow along because obviously this conference is held in English, albeit that we realize that everyone is coming from different countries around the world. And so with that, I know that she had mentioned that, she's really excited to bring Buncee into her sessions, and I really appreciate her tuning in. But I want to let you guys know that we definitely hear your concerns, and it's not something new to us. And so with that, as part of this entire event, sort of thinking forward, because we're now at day 5 and there's only 6 days for this conference, what are your next steps in terms of learning opportunities with Buncee? And so this woman had raised the point that this conference is held in English, she speaks in Arabic, and it's a little hard for her to understand. In order for her to get engaged, she's actually been using Google Translate along the entire conference. And so with that point, I just want to raise the fact that we actually have a few upcoming events. So we do have a Buncee Community Day for the Middle East that's also led by our Arabic-speaking ambassadors. Iman Shaheen might actually be in the audience right now, but also Dia Yasri, who's also, both of them are which are from the Middle East, from Palestine as well as Egypt. And so on August 26th, especially if you speak Arabic, please stay tuned for the Buncee Community Day. They'll be doing all of the training in Arabic so that you'll be also able to get engaged and involved, and you don't have to worry about, sessions being in English where you can't maybe, partake in the whole series. And then last but not least, we also have an upcoming event on August 3 to 5, where we'll also have 30 plus educators actually sharing their ideas, best practices for using Buncee, especially for remote learning too. So it'll be a more extended, sort of version of this whole Buncee week in Malaysia. So feel free to register. The page is on the site is on the page itself. But with that, I'm excited to kick us off with our session for today. So like I mentioned, today's session is really focused on nurturing a sense of belonging for our students in the classroom. And as we think about, this sort of remote environment that we find ourselves in, we definitely want to keep our students connected, engaged, and also feel like that they're part of the conversation. And so with that, I'm really excited to welcome our guest speaker, Eileen Winokur, who's actually an educator based out in Kuwait. She's lived there for over 30 plus years, and she's been a phenomenal person with different ideas, definitely someone who really aims to get connected and help support every educator across the globe. But I'm really excited for her to share her experiences, particularly because her story is very unique in the sense that she's been able to see, education in different parts of the world. And so with that, I'd love to be able to pass it to Eileen. So Eileen, great to have you here. So I'm gonna let you, share your experiences, and I'm definitely excited to hear your thoughts, and I hope the audience is too.
Thank you so much, Ida, for the introduction, and I'm really excited to be here. So hi, everybody. I am Eileen Winokur, as Ida introduced me. I have lived in Kuwait since 1984, and I'm an educator since 1996. I fell into it by accident. I actually was a third grade teacher for several years, and then became the principal for elementary, and then pre-K to 5 principal at the same school in Kuwait, and then took some time off to get my doctorate. And then once that was finished, decided to go into teaching intensive English at one of the local private universities here in Kuwait. And I did that for several years, and then I became the director of the program. And I retired last year and have lots of time to spend on Buncee. And so I'm really excited to show you about about Buncee and belonging. It's very dear to me. And the reason why I speak about belonging is because I am sort of in between two worlds. Now I've spent more than half my life in Kuwait, but I had spent a good part of my life up to the age of 29 in Buffalo, New York, where I grew up. And I go back and forth, I travel, but my home is here in Kuwait. I raised 3 children, and I do speak fluent Arabic, Kuwaiti Arabic. So salam alaikum to those who are tuning in from the Middle East. And if there are any questions, please make sure to follow me on Twitter. And so I can answer your questions, certainly about Buncee. And so being in both places and people asking me questions about how did I feel comfortable being in Kuwait and also going back home to my hometown and visiting my family. And so I basically told everybody that I guess I just feel like it's home. I feel like I belong in both places. And so the reason why I feel I belong is what I'd like to share with you today. And one of the things about belonging is the Buncee community, is building your professional learning network, your PLN, and feeling part of a community. That's our professional belonging. And it's really, really important for us to feel like we belong in our profession, at our school, amongst our colleagues, so that we feel safe and are able to share. We also want to have personal belonging, where we feel comfortable with our families and our friends and in our local communities. And we also want to make sure that we have self-belonging, which is making sure that we feel self-confident, we feel safe in our space, that we don't feel lonely when we're alone. But I think it's really important to have an idea about belonging for ourselves, but also for our students. And especially if we have language learners in our classrooms, if we have students from different parts of the world, even different parts of your country, who speak either slightly different dialects or have different backgrounds or prior knowledge, it's really important. And so that's what this session is about, is not just the belonging, but the use of Buncee, which is a wonderful platform for making sure that our students really feel like they belong. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what is belonging, and then how to use Buncee, because that's why we're all here, how to use Buncee to create a culture of belonging, community, and inclusion, where every single student in your class feels like they belong, which means they feel safe in the environment that you created in your classroom, and they don't worry about raising their hand and answering a question and possibly getting it wrong. They don't worry about feeling shy about speaking the language when perhaps they're just new to the language. And we'll also take a look at how to use it in the classroom, online, and at home. So what is belonging? In brief, belonging is feeling safe, and it's necessary for well-being. So this is one of the main reasons why we really need to concentrate on this feeling of belonging. Because if we don't feel like we belong, it affects our health. It affects the way we are able to think. If we don't feel like we belong, we feel anxious, we feel worried. And so, especially for our students, but even for ourselves, it's important that we feel belonging so that we feel that sense of well-being. Belonging is making sure that we have happy and healthy relationships with our family, relationships with our friends, our colleagues, our peers, and also teacher to student and student to teacher and student to student. So we really want to form that community. We want to make sure that everyone feels that they're part of the team. We want to make sure that they don't feel left out. We want to make sure that they feel important, but we don't want to falsely praise them. We want them internally to feel like they know they're important to us. And that creates the really strong relationship between teacher and student. So the first thing I wanted to show you was some Buncee templates, which create a sense of belonging in your classroom. There are templates, and as Ida has mentioned, and part of the contest that you're doing for this week, which I was really excited about, because some of you have already been introduced to some of the templates that you're going to see me show you. And so, but also you can introduce yourself to your students' parents. And that's really, really important before school starts and as school gets up and running. So depending on what kind of communication you are expected to have by your school, or what kind of communication you as a teacher prefer to use with the parents of your students. And of course, depending on the age of your students and how independent they are, it's really important for the parents to be informed. So there are templates to be able to introduce yourself and to be able to communicate with parents. All about me and my story, which I'll talk a little bit about as I show you the templates. My family and my country, which also has been something that has been introduced by Ida and Maria. So here's a template for a Meet the Teacher. And so you could actually send this out to your students, to your family, to the families of your students. If you haven't started school yet, it's a nice way to introduce yourself. As you can see here, at the top is your name. And then you can record a video, just like Rochelle did on her All About Me. You can record a video and introduce yourself, and that way, before school starts, your students will have seen your face, parents will have made a connection to you. With all of this remote learning, if you're not back in school yet, but even if you're back in school and you haven't started classes yet, it's so nice for a parent and a student to see your face and hear your voice before they get to meet you, and then to find out information about you. And then there's a QR code which you can add just about anything you want about yourself. It could be a connection to another video. It could be photos. It could be a Wakelet album. It could be just about anything. And then, of course, to add your teacher's email address so they can contact you. Another way a fabulous way to communicate with parents is to be able to send out newsletters. And Buncee is wonderful. This is just one template that you could be using. But I'm going to go out of my presentation for a second, and I want to show you other newsletter templates that you could choose. So I'm creating a new template. And if you scroll down here, you will see that there is a whole category for newsletters. So I'm going to click on that. And hopefully you can see all of the different types. So this is the one that I chose to put in my presentation. But you can have all different kinds of newsletters. And of course, because you can duplicate pages, if you want to keep it so that you only have to send out one Buncee to your parents and they can keep up with the newsletter every month, you're able to do that. So look at the variety of newsletters that you could choose. So if you have older students, or if there's certain types of things that you want to highlight on a certain month, library teachers can send out newsletters. You can see this one here, the Library Buzz. And there are more formal ones if the school wants to send out a newsletter. So you can see all the different types of newsletters here. So I wanted to make sure to share that with you. So communication is really, really important with the parents and with the students. Then here's All About Me. Buncee also has a wealth of different templates. And of course, you're always able to create your own or start with something that Buncee's given you and then change it up. So this is one of the templates. I started with it. It's actually from the emojis or from the avatars. You can choose the different eyebrows and hair and things like that. I just started on this one. And so you can see I've put my name, but there's a place if you wanted to put photos. You could add a recording. You could add a selfie. You could add class photos if you wanted to from either previous classes or about your family. And of course, with students, it's really important for them to be able to say, I'm here. I mean, I think everybody realizes how fun it was and how important it was for you to introduce yourselves to everybody else in this wonderful Buncee, Malaysia community. And I think it shows how much we really want to be connected to others. And everybody wants to know about us. And we certainly want to tell everybody about ourselves. So this is just one of them. Again, because it's open, you can pretty much add whatever you want to it, including Buncee stickers, which I love. Now here's a template all about me. And I think one of the ones that Ida showed, one of the people had already used this one. I like this one a lot because it has so many different aspects of who you are. And in fact, this was something that you could either have students do before they start school and share them out amongst each other once you have your class list, or to be able to share it on the first day of class, whether it's online or remote or whether it's in class, and either see if they can guess who the student is, or especially for them to have a full picture about the rest of their class. And if you do any icebreakers, this would help, because if students are looking for a particular thing on the list of icebreakers, they might remember who this was. So I'm going to share now mine. And so I've also added, hi, my name is Eileen. And I know that it's been, there's been a lot of discussion about name pronunciations. I know here in Kuwait, students are fairly accepting if a foreign teacher mispronounces their name. And I always want to tell them, please ask your teacher nicely, or tell your teacher nicely that, you know, your name is pronounced a certain way, because teachers want to be sure that they're calling the name in the right way. So one of the things that you could add to this all about me, it wasn't on here, is hi, my name is so-and-so, and then this is how it's pronounced. You can see where I live. You can see my favorite kind of music, my favorite colors, what I like to do in my free time. Look at all the things that somebody looking at this Buncee would know about me before I even introduced myself. And how accepting and how wonderful that is to have me as part of a community, because you know all about me. So of course I prefer homemade food. So you can see this Buncee sticker. And I love salads, so you can see all this fresh fruit and salads. You can see my favorite places are Switzerland and Italy. And I like buying gifts for everybody. And one of the things I love about Buncee is, as you can see, there's a lot of animation here. And of course, you don't want to have everything necessarily animated on your Buncee, but it's so fun to see things being able to move and instead of just 2D. So I really like the fact that Buncee has the animations. Here's an icebreaker, but it also could be, and it's a Buncee template, it could also be an about me, learn about me. And so this icebreaker could be something you would use either in addition to other all about me templates, or you could use it on its own. And I love the background, okay, as the icebreaker. And so the things that I love to do is I love to read. And so you can see the stickers that I added. I love to travel, and hopefully at the end I'll have time to show my Buncee Man's Great Adventure board, a Buncee board. But these are characters that were brought on recently. Let me introduce you to Octawizard. Of course, Buncee Man has visited and found Octawizard on a planet very far away from Earth. This is how he got there. So this is how we traveled to Planet Equity, which is a planet that I discovered. Well, actually, Buncee Man and I discovered. And I also like to write. I'm in the process of writing a book, actually about belonging, and I blog every week. And so, and I've always, well, I can't say I always like to write. Writing used to be very difficult for me, but I learned to love to write. And I hope all of you, if you're not writers, that you begin to be writers. It's a great way to express yourself. Now here's an icebreaker. So if you're in class, you can do something like this. If you're not in class and you are either doing Teams, Microsoft Teams, or Zoom, and you have breakout rooms, you're able to have students be able to find each other. And so there are different things. This is a template from Buncee that you could use. You could also make your own because you could add things or add your own based on your own culture, based on what you know that certain students in your class are aware of. So perhaps by doing that previous All About Me Buncee, where you get to know a lot about your students, you'd be able to put this and make it personalized for your classroom that year. So here are some of the owns a cat and dog, doesn't like watermelons, and so forth. So it's different ways to build team spirit and community in your classroom and get students up and out if they're in the classroom and if they're not. And also if they're at home and they're learning remotely, this is something that they could do at home. And perhaps I would imagine that students are in touch with each other either by email or in some kind of class group LMS that students would be able to ask each other and be able to fill it in based on who they find fits these the different prompts. Ida talked about Maria's Buncee board, which I really love, and I'm going to show you a few additional templates from Buncee, all about my country. Now, I think this is really, really important because for those of you who are teaching with a variety of students from different places, and for those even who everybody in your class is from the same country, we all have different ways of feeling about our country and different aspects that we love about it, different aspects that we've visited perhaps, different things we'd like to tell other people about. And so this is really wonderful in order to get students to be able to talk about how they feel about their own country. And also it could be a project for social studies where they actually go into depth and do some research and find out some things about their country. And so I like this template because, as you can see, the stars, if I'm in edit mode, you can actually see the stars will move, and I can put the star on the place where I live. So I would have one just about probably here, which is Buffalo, New York. And another one just about, let me see if I'm getting this right, just about here, which would be, nope, here, which would be Kuwait. And then I could use this either as a cover image, or I could add other Buncee stickers, or I could type, or I could add videos to talk about my country. The one thing I love about Buncee templates is they're so versatile. There are so many different things you can do, either from what they offer you, which is how I started to make sure I got used to using Buncee, or you can create your own once you get comfortable and you want to sort of reach out and do something a bit different. And here's another country, my country is. This one has a bit about weather, but it also has pins that you could pin where you live, and you could say where you live, and then you could move the pins around. There are some Buncee stickers, but there are lots more that you could use from the Buncee library. There are also Buncee templates for family trees. So let's say you're doing either a unit on forming community, or about your family, or toward the beginning, the first couple of weeks of school, you've gotten to know the individual students, but now you want them to talk about their families. And so this is a Buncee I did for Buncee Man's Great Adventure. But there are other templates for family trees. And I changed the background, actually. I added this because a Buncee Man is visiting a planet that's 80% water or underwater. And so the template didn't have the waves, and I wanted to make sure everybody knew that we were still on the planet. And so I added these waves. I layered them, which is a wonderful way to be creative with Buncee. And there are also Buncee templates that you can use to show photos. Now this is a part of my story for Buncee Man's Great Adventure. And so these are stickers that Buncee has created of different characters, which I love. And so I use them in the picture frames. So the template is actually the picture frames, and you can add whatever you want inside the picture frames. And there are other Buncee's templates that are for posting photos. And of course, it wouldn't necessarily just have to be for family. It could also be classroom photos. It could be photos of friends and so forth. There's, as I said, Buncee is just so versatile. And then there are Buncees that are several pages. And so one of the pages in one of the Buncee templates, the last page, was my family story. And so, of course, Pinky is one of the characters from Buncee Man's Great Adventure, and nobody knows who Pinky is, and so I've created this story about Pinky. And another great thing about Buncee is the Immersive Reader. And so you could either have it, the text read aloud.
My family is new to Planet Equity. My grandparents, Rose and Jewel, overcame difficult times because they had lived on the land and didn't know about the sea. But the people of Planet Equity helped them start a business, and they were very successful. My other grandparents, Joan and Joe, were neighbors that helped Rose and Jewel. They were so happy when their children, Pinkins and Blue Esther, decided to get married. Pinky is so proud of his family for being a wonderful example of equity and inclusion.
And also, you can use Immersive Reader, and so it could be either read aloud. I think the other day, I think Shannon talked about Immersive Reader and how all the different aspects of Immersive Reader. It could also be translated. So for students who are beginning to learn your language, whether it's English or any other language, this is an assistive technology for them that's integrated into Buncee. And it's wonderful, actually, for being able to also ensure that your students feel they're included all of the time. So creating a sense of belonging in your classroom with Buncee, you can also create your own, as I said. So I'm going to show you one of the templates that I took, and I created my own Bitmoji scene. For those of you who are on Facebook or perhaps Instagram, but I know there's a big educators group, or at least one, but there are probably more, where you can take a Bitmoji and you can create a scene. So this actually, again, was part of Buncee Man's Great Adventure. But what I did here was I took different speech Buncee stickers, and I added my Bitmoji here. That's me. I added also books and links to people reading the books, and I'll open one of those in a minute. And I added stickers and the fact that Buncee Man is reading a book, and so am I. And here is Pinky. And Pinky has given you the directions to click on any book on the shelves to watch and listen. And so that's another thing that's wonderful about Buncee, is because you can combine text with either speech bubbles or backgrounds and so forth, you can create the directions, the instructions for your students to follow, so that if they're not with you in the class when they're doing the Buncees, they are able to do them on their own or with only a little bit of direction. And as you can see, there's a highlighted link here. So I've linked all of these books, or all of these pictures of the books, with the story being read aloud. Again, an assistive type of technology, but also something fun. I created all of this and just had the background actually as a template. For those who would like to do Bitmoji scenes who haven't started doing it yet, it's a lot of fun and rather addictive, just like Buncee is. And so Buncee has, I don't know how many, but a lot of templates for classrooms, for outdoor scenes, for all kinds of things that you could use to place your Bitmoji, and even your students' Bitmojis if you wanted to take the time to create them. So I'm just going to click on here. Hopefully an ad won't pop up, and you'll be able to see the video.
Monster Math presents Counting to 10. Okay, class, let's count these.
So this is a book about feelings.
Welcome to the Storytime family. Today we're going to be reading In My Heart, a book of feelings by Joe Wittek.
So there you can see that the students are able to click, and this is a wonderful way for students to be able to become creative. And they could do that because you're able to add links to just about anything, audio links and also video links and URLs. So I've talked a little bit about belonging and how important it is, and how important it is for us to feel we belong as teachers in our school community and also in our personal community, but how important it is for students to be able to learn in a safe space where they feel like they belong. And Buncee is just such a wonderful way to be able to connect people, connect your students, to make them feel important, because you're discovering all about them. So what I wanted to do briefly now is show you some of the different ways that you can get help from Buncee in order to get started, in order to learn more about how to use Buncee if you've already gotten started. These have been very helpful to me also, and so I wanted to share them with you. So one of the ways that Buncee has to make sure that you can find different lesson plans and different ways to create your Buncees and how you can use them in your classroom is Discover. And so if you go to remotelearning.buncee.com/discover, Buncee has taken time, based on the fact that so many of us were teaching online, we're teaching and students were at home and we were at home. And so there are so many different ways that Buncee created in order, and they're always adding on. So here are some remote learning resources that you could have, but also how to get access to Buncee, lesson and activity ideas, and so forth. Buncee also has a help center called the Zendesk. If you have specific questions and you've roamed around the website and you haven't been able to find an answer, you can get the Zendesk and put in your question here, or search for a particular topic, or find particular topics here, and the Zendesk hopefully will have the answer. Okay, so that's the Zendesk. And I know that one of the other presenters this week talked about Ideas Lab. That's where I go often to find new and different ideas that teachers have created. In fact, for belonging, I put in SEL, and these are the types of things that I got for SEL, social emotional learning. So some of the things that are recommended by Buncee are make your own affirmation cards. And these are really nice because you can say, I am a reader. I am very interested in flowers. It's an affirmation, a way to say and share the kinds of things that you're doing and that you love to do, and also the things that you're good at, your strengths. Then they have a manage stress with a mindfulness activity. They have some of those. And again, where it says create this, you can make a copy because a teacher, someone has added this and offered it to share. What I like about me, practice self-care, and so forth. So that's the Ideas Lab. And of course, you could pretty much put any topic. You can also filter it. You can filter by topic, and you can filter by grade levels. So if you want things only for elementary, you could just click on elementary, and it will only give you things that are appropriate for elementary students. So there are so many lesson and activity ideas. Really, I don't think you would ever get to the point where you'd say, well, I finished all with Buncee and now I have to look for another app. I don't think that will ever happen. I don't think it'll ever happen for me, that's for sure. And then you can download and print Buncees for offline access, such as handouts and posters. So for those of you who are teaching remotely, or doing a blended where you're only in the classroom certain days of the week and the other days you have students at home, you can download and print Buncees for offline access because you can print them as a PDF. You can share Buncees as digital connections and Bunce Boards, and I'm going to show you mine in a minute. You can share Buncees to students as assignments. So if you have a Buncee classroom account, you can actually put the list, your roster of students, and you could send it out, any assignment through Buncee to all of your students, or to just certain students if you want to. And of course, you can app smash. I have app smashed Buncee with Wakelet and Flipgrid, but there are plenty of other ways, including Seesaw, if Seesaw is your communication app with your parents. This is just an example of one of the ideas from Idea Lab. And I liked it because it includes this Flipgrid AR code or Flipgrid QR code. The student decided that she wanted to put, she's a high school student, obviously, and she's going to graduate in 2022. And so this is a different type of all about me idea, which I saw on Ideas Lab. So you can find out about her. This is also a great way for high school students to present a resume. So this is their high school resume. It's something that they could possibly submit when they were applying for colleges or perhaps for jobs. She also talks about her future goals after she graduates. And as I said, now you can create your own Buncee. You can get started, and I think some of you already have. And if I just stop this for a second, and I'd love to show you my Bunce board. And so as you can see, I have several Bunce boards here. This is the one I've mentioned a couple of times. And this is all about Buncee Man's Great Adventure. And as you can see, Buncee Man's Great Adventure there, it's already up to 30 pages, But several of parts of the story are also separate. So here's another family tree you can see, Octawizard's family tree. And here was Pinky's. And now I've added a new, because I am part of the Getting Buncee Awards. And so I've been lucky enough to be able to get weekly awards. And I'm now up to 44 days in a row, because one of the first things I love to do in the morning is to create a Buncee. It's my pick-me-up for the day. And it all started with Buncee Summer Challenge, and I have Buncee to thank for that. I never really thought I was very creative, but I do know that I am creative now, and I have a lot of that has to do with Buncee, so I thank Buncee for that. So this is my website. You can find resources about belonging, my podcast, and also my blog, and a little bit more about me. You could take a picture of this QR code, and that will give you a picture of this business card. And of course, the business card was created on Buncee. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm so excited to have shared all about belonging, all about the ways that you can use Buncee to be sure that your students feel like they belong. And I think because you're going to be making those Buncees, you're going to feel like you belong too, as part of this greater Buncee community, which is a fantastic professional learning network.
Well, thank you, first of all, Eileen. Honestly, that was amazing. I loved all of the ideas that you've shared, and honestly, the audience feels the same way too. And, just to sort of, bring it full circle here, I love, we talk about here at Buncee creativity a lot, right? And the significance for us, for kids, and what that means for our teachers as well. But I love how you point out the fact that it's really about authenticity and inclusivity. And so the way, just bringing back full circle here, it's really this sort of concept of using creativity to make learning authentic for our kids so that they also can get engaged in the way that they'd like, but at the same time, make it much more accessible, because in a real sense, I know at the end you said that you discovered that you're creative, but truthfully, we're all creatives, right? And so
Yes.
at the end of the day, like expressing your understanding or your knowledge, it's really just done in the way that makes sense for you. And so I'm really appreciative of all of the different ideas that you had. And so on that sort of note, we did have a few questions, and they're a lot more on the sort of feature technical sense. And I know that you touched on Ideas Lab. So in particular, I think a lot of folks are, curious to understand where they could find some additional activities in Ideas Lab. I think if you search About Me, if you want to just do a quick screen share, otherwise I can too. And then somebody also made note about, I think everyone's starting to see a lot of teacher examples. And so I just also want to highlight that in Ideas Lab, you'll also be able to find activities for your kids. So if you don't want to get it started yourself as a template or a Buncee that you're going to share to your kids, you actually have the opportunity to, as part of this conference, give your kids access to Buncee. And so they'll be able to create their own activities, but at the same time, there are several activities that they can get engaged with as well that are part of Ideas Lab and Templates Library. So as you share your screen, Eileen, if you don't mind hitting the topic areas for a quick moment, right on the side. And then if you could just go to the at-home category. So if you just don't mind, search, I know you have the All About Me on your screen highlighted. So yeah, just X that one out. Perfect. So as you click on the topic area to go to at home, you'll actually find a lot of different activities that your kids, can actually just do themselves at home. So a lot of them are fun drag and drop activities. Other ones like that on her screen is actually sharing about the weather in your area. So it'll be a lot of different varieties. So don't feel that Buncee is just a teacher tool, because it's definitely not that. It's meant to be creative for everyone to be able to get engaged. But in any case, because a lot of people were thinking about ideas for the About Me's that that you've really inspired. So if you want to just X out the at home and then search About Me, I think you'll be able to scroll through, show just other ideas of how people can represent about me. And then I'll just make note that as you do that, all of these are templates too, so that you could actually change these and manipulate it the way that you'd like. You know, some of them might be backgrounds where you can't adjust it, but every template is up to you to be able to go through. So yeah, here are some of the examples if you want to just kind of give a walkthrough of them too.
Yeah, so this one is really neat. Create a digital global quilt, which is nice. And so each person can do something a little bit different. Introduce yourself by sharing your superpower. This is a wonderful one because we all have superpowers. And for those students who feel like maybe they don't know what their superpower is, they get a chance to be able to think about it, reflect, maybe have a discussion with you as the teacher, and then really understand that they do have a superpower. We have students who come into our classrooms who really don't understand that they do have superpowers, that they're good at many different things. Introduce yourself with this fun all about me, so more of those. Share your hope, dreams, and goals, which is really important. All of these have been shared, or many of these have been shared by other teachers, and they've used them in their classrooms, which is wonderful. And all you need to do is click on them and then make a copy, and then it becomes your own. It's also great for ideas. Sometimes we don't want to do it exactly the way the person has, but it gives us an idea about, oh, I hadn't thought that I could do that with my students. And then, as Edith said, yes, students can create, and that's what we want them to do. Is it's great for us to create, but we also want for them to get involved too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, on that note, I just want to bring it back to the concept of, you know, creating that sense of belonging for our students, especially as we move remotely. You know, part of the significance of this authentic learning is that, you know, in this sort of new world that we find ourselves in, where, you know, you are teaching at a distance, part of the challenge really is that, you know, you want your kids to feel engaged and involved, especially while they're on their own as an individual. And so in part, you know, some of the ideas and sort of strategies to take back is actually giving them that creative, authentic sort of approach where they could just create content. So whether it's a Buncee or a podcast, or maybe they're making a video, sort of our goal as educators is making them just feel part of the learning process. So it's not necessarily in some ways about the summative assessments or, you know, things of that nature. But other questions, I know that you stopped sharing screen, so I'll just give a quick note on it. But in Ideas Lab, I know somebody just mentioned quickly on the side if you know, you could find different reading activities. So I'll make note that if you even search book review in Ideas Lab, you'll be able to find different ideas for your students to be able to get involved in reading. Yeah, and you know, just one last main question that I really noticed is really about how you've been bringing up inclusivity for the classroom and dialing back to Immersive Reader. I know that our audience here is really interested to learn a little bit about it. Some of the technical components are, you know, whether you can swap to male versus female. I don't know if you want to just show Immersive Reader again and show the translation part too, but somebody is curious to see how the reading functionality works for it, and as well as the translation and also the change from male to female. And I'm happy to share my screen if you'd like to.
Let's see. Well, I go back to the presentation, I guess probably would be easier, yeah?
Yeah, sure. And you could do it right on this page, actually.
Okay. So I want to get some text. So here you go. So for Immersive Reader, so we can read it. You can see it's larger, and so you can go to here to reading preferences. You can choose a language. So for instance, for, let's see, yes. And so you can actually,
yep, just hit document.
So you can actually see it's translated the document to Malay. And there are so many different languages that Immersive Reader, and they're adding them all the time. What else did you want me to show?
Yeah, and then on the bottom, even if it's left in Malay, you know where the
Mhm.
play sign is, or the play icon? Right next to it is the setting, or right on the bottom center of your screen.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. So as you notice, it's obviously reading in the language that was translated. And I think that's one of the coolest features of Icebreaker. But if you just want to hit pause, I just want to make mention.
I'm trying to find my. Okay, there.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
But what's amazing about it too is that obviously we changed it to Malay, but if you change it back to English, it will also read in that language too. And then
Yes.
somebody, and I'm glad that you clicked on the gear icon here, but the last question was about voice selection. So
Yes.
yeah, you can change it from male to female or female to male, whichever, you know, the preference is.
And also fast and slow. You could see that the person or the voice was reading very quickly, and so you could slow it down here depending on the needs of your students. Yeah,
exactly. And then one last note before we bring this to an official close here is that someone just asked if you can make assessments in Buncee. Yeah, so you can make an assessment in Buncee. We've covered that in the earlier session, but effectively what you can do is as you create a Buncee, what you'll be able to do is add free response questions or multiple choice questions. And then as a result, you'll be able to send that as an activity to your students. And then they'll be able in the classroom dashboard side, be able to pass that back to you as their submission. And then you'll be able to grade them and then monitor their progress as well. So that is a capability that you will have access to too.
Yeah, and what's nice also is you can give feedback to your students based on what they've done. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great point. So actually, you can also leave comments. So aside from the feedback, you can leave the comments. You could actually drop reactions too. So if you want to shoot them a little emoji to show them that you loved seeing their work, you could totally do so too. But with that, I think we covered our questions here. And honestly, thank you so much. You know, it's a really important topic. So I'm glad that this is something that we're including because especially in the new sort of world that we find ourselves in, it's not just about, you know, student engagement, but it's how the community and, you know, that sense of belonging can actually nurture the student to actually get engaged in, you know, learning itself. But with that, you know, just to bring it to a close here. So on the bottom of our screen, you'll notice that we have our attendance form for day 5. So it just got dropped in the chat over here, but please be sure to register for it. As you put your information in, just double check that you don't have typos on your name as well as your email. That way you can ensure to get that certificate. And that will be sent in the next several hours or at least 24 hours later. And other things to note is that, of course, we had our giveaways. So for our session selfie giveaway, the winner will be announced in about another hour. So if you could stay tuned on Twitter, you'll be able to see that if you participated. And then the other giveaways that we had, it'll be announced on July 25th. So we're definitely looking forward to, you know, seeing your about me and that sort of belonging, Buncee, that you created about yourself as well as your country. So please be sure to contribute either about me or your my country Buncee and add that to the board that we shared earlier. And so with that, is there anything else you'd love to add, Eileen?
I just want to say thank you very much for Buncee giving me the opportunity, for you, Ida, giving me the opportunity to present and sort of share with everyone. And yes, in this time where everybody's quite anxious and there's a lot of uncertainty, belonging is even more important. It's always important, but especially now. And yes, for our students and also for ourselves. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Honestly, your thoughts, your experiences, it's been super helpful for the entire community. So really the pleasure is not just for me, it's really for all of us to have heard your background.
And thank you to all the educators who joined us today also. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. I really appreciate the fact that they've been here almost every day and they really want to learn. I've been watching the interactions on social media and everybody seems to really be enjoying it. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much to everyone. And so stay tuned for tomorrow's last day of Buncee Week. So this one tomorrow will actually be focused on global collaboration with dear friends Preeti as well as Maria. who actually met through Buncee through a global collaboration. So it'll be a great sort of spirit to learn the different activities that they did as educators trying to connect with one another across the globe, but also their students, especially in this time of need. And I'll actually build a little bit on what Eileen has been talking about nurturing this sense of belonging, because kids are not able to get engaged with one another in a physical environment as much anymore, but we can also connect globally or even locally, but just in a digital form. So please do stay tuned for tomorrow, not next week, but tomorrow. And we'll also be announcing the last giveaway winners for that session too. And with that, thank you so much to everyone. Definitely looking forward to seeing your Buncees, and feel free to get in touch with us. So thank you and goodbye. I'll pass it to Ms. Vega here.
Thank you, Ms. Eda and Dr. Eileen, for a great explanation about Buncee. Dear viewers, please stay tuned for our tomorrow's session. And then, dear educators, please fill in your attendance form based on the link that is appearing on the screen, and make sure your information is correct and accurable. And then, dear wonderful educators, we have a good news that I mentioned to you earlier. We would love to hear feedback from all of you. Tell us how you have used the ideas of participating in Buncee Week and experiences using the wonderful Buncee application by sharing your thoughts about it by creating a simple video within a minute length. So please send the video to Mr. Ruben Arumugam at +6010245731 or by email ruben.arumugam@gmail.com before this Friday. So it's today. Okay, the video produced by the winner will be announced and telecast on Saturday, tomorrow. And happy filming, everyone. Then don't forget to check out our Buncee Twitter page for the winners list after an hour of this event. And dear our beloved educator, once again, I would like to remind you to stay tuned for our last session, which is tomorrow, with another exciting information about Buncee. Till then, we'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Delita, and